Okay, today we're going to talk about using feature scripts in Onshape. So feature scripts are add-ons to Onshape that allow you to automate or speed up certain tasks, and they can be quite complex. The feature script we're going to use is called laser jointing, and it allows you to make all of these finger joints automatically as long as your bits of your box are all separate and they overlap each other. So you can remember how tedious it was to generate all these finger jointed structures individually. We don't have to do that now. We can do it just in, we can automate the process. All right, so we use these finger joints to make everything a lot stronger and reduce the bending forces and increase the compressive forces. Now in this PowerPoint, there's a link here, so you're going to need to use that link. But what we're going to do first is we'll start up Onshape. So go into Onshape. There we go, open Onshape. Now I'm going to create a new document. Call it laser joint. All right, I've got a new part studio, new document. If I look at this thing, it says add custom features. So this is where you will see any of your custom features, like your feature scripts here. Okay, you can look for it in previous documents, but what we're going to do, because you haven't used this one before, we're going to go to this link here. Okay, now this opens basically what's been set up as a feature script for this with some different types of examples. But all we need to do is go into this thing here and go add custom features. And we want to select this. And you see here it says custom feature laser joint was added to your toolbar. But just note the version, this is 4.2.1. Okay, so now we go back into our Onshape and we should see that laser joint has been added here. Okay, and it says gives us a bit of a description of it as well, from feature script laser joint. So it's linked to that file. Okay, now what we can do now is let's just make a very basic kind of right angle situation. So if I'm going to draw a sketch, I'm going to pick my plane. Remember, we're picking the plane, and then I like to draw, so I'm looking straight down on it. I'm going to draw myself a bracket here. Maybe this bracket can be 70 long. Enter by 40 wide. Okay, because I've got the right dimensions there. Everything's gone black, so make sure that you add the dimensions properly if they're not in there. I finish that sketch. I rotate around. I go to extrude, and I pick 3mm because the acrylic we use is 3mm thick. So now I've got the base of my bracket. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another sketch, and I'm going to put it on the bottom, and you're going to see why. So I'm going to select, I want to draw it on the bottom of this part. So I'm selecting my sketch plane as actually the bottom of this part. And I'm going to draw myself another rectangle. You see now it's snapped to that line there, and it's snapped to that line. So I don't really need to give it a dimension for the 70 because it knows what it is already. In fact, it doesn't like the fact that I've given it a dimension. So I'm going to make it this 3mm thick again, and I'm going to delete this dimension because that's what's making it go red, because it knows the dimension 70 because it's from there to there, because it's locked on, it's snapped to there. You see the constraints are showing that it's coincident with that part. And then it's okay, it's quite happy for me to tell it that it's 3 wide. But what it's not happy with at the moment is not happy because the lines are blue and it doesn't know where these lines are. horizontally. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to give it just one dimension between here and here, and I'm going to make that 10. So now they've gone black because it knows where it is. So now I've got this. I'm going to finish that sketch and I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to go underneath, click on this, and I'm going to extrude up through the thing. Remember, the sketch is on the bottom and I'm extruding up through, and I'm going to make that 43 millimeters because I want it 40 millimeters. Going to 3 millimeters is taken up with the thickness of this, and then I want another 40 millimeters on top. Now you can see now that this is only the first part. The first part was created when we extruded the base, and that's the part. This is all one part now, but I want it to be two overlapping parts. So if I go new and then go OK, you can see that there's actually two overlapping parts now. Now that's critical for this, because when we go into our laser joint tool, and this little blue symbol means it's linked to that previous file, I go like this, and now this is the magic part. If I select the tab part as the bottom one and the base part as this one, it automatically makes those laser joints. Those are finger joints, and I can select how many pins I have. See, pins, different amounts of pins. I can actually give it a fixed pin width. I can add an allowance, like if you're worried that when you laser cut it, it's not going to fit together. You can give the pins a chamfer. So if I give the pins a 1 millimeter chamfer or a fillet, now why can't we see that? I think it's because the pins are on the other side, to be honest. Anyway, we can have a play with that again. But basically now you've got two separate parts that are laser jointed together. So each one of the parts is the same part, but now the joints have been made. So if I drop this into an assembly, once it's in the assembly, they're together, but they're not actually jointed. I can still, move this about. So they're not, they haven't been jointed. So if you want to joint them properly, you click the fasten mate, and then you choose the two edges that have got to be together. So it will be the center of that edge with the center of that edge. And now they're actually fastened together properly. All right, so that's great. Now, let's say you wanted to laser cut those. You'd have to go in and export each one of the sketches or drawings, each one of the parts. Sorry, you'd have to export each one of the sketches as a DXF separately. But what we can do now is if we add in this other feature script, which is auto layout. So I'm going to go add custom features, auto layout, and that'll add it to my part studio. So now you see I've got an auto layout here as well. So what I can do with the auto layout is, if I go auto layout, it actually lays them out for me. Now I need to set the thickness of the material to 3 millimeters so it knows what the thickness is. But it actually will lay them out. So I can, if I go OK, I can actually export them as one DXF, or you can see how they're all going to line up. All right. The problem with that is that with the auto layout done, that they're all flat and you can't see them to work on them in the same or all together. So if I go delete the auto layout, you can always just delete these operations, or if you wanted to extrude it differently, you can go back in and change those. Okay, so let's say I wanted to put a brace in here because that's going to be quite important. If we want this to be stronger, right now it's not very strong. If you wobble that, it's not going to be very strong. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a brace in there. So but it needs to overlap with all this stuff as well. So I'm going to draw a sketch. I'm going to do a new sketch. And I'm going to make my sketch plane on the edge of that there. And then I'm going to look at it from the right. And I'm going to draw myself, I use the line tool, line that up there, go across here, 20. Go horizontally across there and down like that. Now I've got a shape there. All right, now you can see this probably isn't going to work here because we really want this everything to go through exactly the way it is. So I'm going to have to change that part here. So I'll delete that line. I'm going to bring this line directly up to there and bring this line directly down to there. Now these ones are still blue, so we've got to work out what's going on. Why are those not constrained? Now I think it's probably because we haven't given it a dimension from there to there. So I'm going to click on here to here, give that a dimension of 30, and now they're all happy, they're all black. Okay, so but we don't want this bracket on the end, we want it somewhere in the middle. So let's now go to our extrude tool and we can see if we choose this as the face we're going to extrude, we want new, we want it to be a new part, and we need to add this bit in here as well. Oh, that didn't work. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go back into my sketch and bring my line down in my sketch here. So I go back into sketch 3. I don't have a line connecting that, so I'm going to go in, connect up my line, say OK to my sketch. Now I'm going to go extrude again. Now I can pick both of those parts and I can extrude this. And we can use the power of the extrude command. So we can bring this back here, but we just want a 3mm thing there. So we can go starting offset. I click on that, and the starting offset, we'll make that minus 25mm. So it's starting offsets there, and then I just make it 3mm wide. And I've got another part that I can add a finger jointing to. Now, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen when it's over the top of that one. So let's see what happens. Go into my laser joint, click on that, base part, okay. And now I'm going to have to do it for the base as well, I think. Right now it's that shape. Laser joint, select tab part, that part and that part. All right, so that's beginning to look quite complex to set that up now, and I'm not sure if that's going to work. What we can do is we can always have a look at those parts in the assembly. I need to insert my other part. So that's going to fit in there like that. Okay, an alternative to doing that is, so if I go back and let's say I go back in my part studio and I can delete my laser joint, I can delete my laser joint, I'll leave my extrude, I'm going to delete that laser joint now. So all I've basically got is my overlapping parts now. I believe if I go into laser joint now, I can go into automatic and I should be able to highlight the whole lot and it will work it out much better with it. Much better way of working it out is to do all of them like that together. Okay. All right, so that's a bit of an introduction into how to laser joint. If I wanted to see them all flat, I could go auto layout and that will lay them all out for me so I can see all the parts individually.